how's it going? It's Kim and Lucy. Here we are together. She just got a little bit of a haircut, a little tiny haircut. And she liked it. She actually was sat still and she was good. Her hair has gotten so long, so we gave her a little trim, and I think she was just, it's very hot today, so I think she was happy to get it done, but she looks a little tired. She gets so tired in the heat. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring her up to say hello. Hi, everybody. I'm going to set her down here. She can go sit in her chair if she wants to. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope everything's going okay. I know this has been, yet another. I should just say it's been a normal week for us with the Trump presidency. It's been a normal week. Well, it's kind of crazy this week. We saw, we aren't surprised, right, that Barr is doing things and Trump is doing things because the window's closing, right? The window's closing. And now I feel that Trump is just trying to kind of stay out of jail. And so you're going to see him do a lot of stuff that if you let it get to you, it's going to make you mad. But I just want to assure you that I really believe that Trump is going to go to jail. I had an early visit from his dad, which sounds so weird, but he was just there one morning when I woke up. So, and I just felt his presence so strongly. And he said he's supposed to go to jail, and he's supposed to kind of have an opportunity in jail to change or to see things differently. So that's what he told me. And at the time I thought, oh, there's no way he's going to go to jail. But this was at the very beginning of his presidency. This was probably maybe, I don't know, 6 months in, 7 months in, something like that. And it just seemed like, how would that ever happen? But I kind of think that he's going to, he's OJing. He's going to OJ, which is that, let's pretend, just for argument's sake, because I don't think he's going to get away with a lot of this stuff, but let's just say everything he's done in his presidency, he gets away with. They drop it or they get rid of it or whatever. It would be about another year before there's more charges brought against him because he doesn't know how to operate honestly. He never has. He's never operated honestly. He surrounds himself with criminals. And he will not have the protection of the presidency in the same way he does right now. And so it would just be a matter of time before he ends up putting himself in jail. There's also other ways that people can be punished besides jail, which is a whole country hating you or disliking you. We won't say hating, but a whole country, being angry at him, when he gets out. There's other ways to be, and being shunned, basically. There's other ways to be punished besides just jail, other ways to pay for the things that you choose to do, other consequences that can happen because of someone's actions. So I'm just going to kind of leave that there and just say I see things unfolding for Trump badly. That's all I can say. That's good. It's not good. Okay. So the reason I kind of popped on today is because two things. I kept seeing some things for Putin, which I thought were kind of weird and interesting. And also I asked my guides what would be the best thing to talk about, which I always do, and usually it will be certain things that you should know or certain people or certain, visions will come up. But today it was very clear that it's like, you guys need a pep talk. I'm supposed to come on and give a pep talk. So I'll get to that after we're done with this. But so I'm going to do that. And so Putin, this is what I'm seeing happening, because I'm putting together kind of a bunch of like little visions that I've had and then feelings that I've had with those visions. So what I've kind of put together is that people in Putin's circle are very angry with him right now, and they're very getting impatient with what's happening right now. Not only with the way COVID was handled in Russia and everywhere, but there's something about oil. And I know the price of oil has dropped, and I don't know all of the connections with oil for Russia or the oligarchs, whatever, but there's something with oil that they're angry about. And I feel like the anger is directed at Putin. And one reason that he did that special election where he's like, I'm in for 30 more years, yay me. The reason that happened is because he was getting paranoid that he was going to be gotten rid of. And I specifically see a younger male kind of coming into play. In a way, it's weird because I feel like Biden and his team already have a plan in place to kind of not really get rid of the government of Russia or get rid of Putin, but it's almost a way to cause problems within the government, within the Russian oligarchs, like amongst themselves, making them angry at each other. And that is kind of what I feel happens, is there's kind of a turning on each other, or them turning on Putin, or something like that, and it changes, and it changes, and it changes for the better. It's interesting because I feel like it kind of weakens them enough for better people to take over, and so that's kind of how I see it playing out. We shall see, but right now that's what I'm feeling and sensing, is that he's getting very nervous, and that's why he did this like special I'm in forever thing. And the oligarchs are very angry with him right now and very annoyed with him, and they feel like they are, to me it feels like they're losing money. It's being drained, and they're also, I feel, worried about Trump, because they're thinking, what happens if Biden comes in? What's going to happen? And he's like, one of Putin's flaws and strengths is that he's overly confident. He's very, very confident, and he's also very, he's hard to read. You can't really read him. He's the opposite of Trump. Trump, you can read everything. With him, you can't really read him. He's KGB guy, right? So you can't really read him. So, he's just trying to kind of play things calmly, but to me, he comes across right now as being very suspicious and paranoid of people around him. Okay, so that's what I see right now in Russia. With Trump and Barr, Trump, I feel, is getting very nervous, and he really doesn't. I think if he could stay in the presidency, he would like to do that, but I almost feel like that's secondary to keeping him out of jail. I got to get rid of this stuff because I'm not going to jail. So that's what it feels like to me. So I feel like, yes, the campaign is important, but it's almost like he's trying all his tricks and nothing seems to be sticking. Nothing seems to be working. So if I can't stay in the presidency, I've got to stay out of jail. I've always seen another opportunity for him to leave. So maybe there'll be a deal offered or something like that. And like I said, don't get freaked out if he's cleared of some charges or something, because things will come back. I feel like there are going to be, like I said, I saw a huge trial after this is over. So things will be brought back up. So if they just give him a deal to get him out, try not to worry about that so much or think like, oh, he's getting away with it. He won't. Either he will get swept up in this trial that's coming and these charges that are brought later, or he'll OJ himself. We'll just say OJ himself. You know what I mean? He doesn't know how to operate honestly. So, okay, so don't worry about that. With Barr, I actually see him. Okay, this is what I see. In the Democratic Party right now, there's a split. I feel like there's some people that want to, and I think this may be like Nancy Pelosi, some people that want to just get to the election and get Trump out, and then we'll figure everything out. There's another section that are like, we have to get rid of Barr right now. We have to impeach this man. We cannot let this go on for another 6 months. We can't do it. People are dying every day. People are getting sick every day. It's getting worse every day. We can't do it. So I feel like these two, and they're not, I don't want to make it sound like they're fighting. I don't think they're fighting. I think it's just like they're discussing the pros and cons of what they want to do. And I feel like there's some arguing one way and some arguing another way. So that's what I feel like is happening kind of behind the scenes. I do actually in the future see, and it may be in the works right now, because there's something that feels kind of immediate about it, but I don't know if it happens before the end of this administration, but I feel him getting disbarred. I feel like he's going to be kicked out of the bar, and I feel like that is going to be one of the greatest shames of his life. It really will like shame him and devastate him, and it will be so. And I think it will shock him as well, because he's also one of these people who's way overconfident and thinks he can just do whatever he wants, and he's fooling everybody, and he's just he comes off as such an arrogant bleh. But that's what I see for him. So and I also see stuff with his health. I always see stuff with his health. So it may be that, and I actually that's the other thing I would just tell you. 2 things. I saw him having stomach issues, like an ulcer or something like that, as well as some heart stuff going on. I figured out who the person is that I kept seeing, and I kept saying they drink too much, they feel suicidal, depressed. It's Larry Kudrow. That's who it is. So FYI, I'm just putting that out there for entertainment purposes only, but that's what I saw. And it was weird because I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, who could it be? And I kept going back to Lindsey Graham, and I'm just like, it just doesn't feel like him. And while I was thinking about this, and this is how our guides work, right? This is how our guides work. Larry Kudrow came on the TV, and I got like full chills. And it's like, that's him. That's who it is. And somebody maybe even said that, but for some reason, I was stuck on the fact that I thought it could be like a senator or something. They felt so close to the White House and so kind of mixed up with the GOP that I was just like, it's got to be like like a government, like something, but he is close to the White House. So anyway, it's him. So we'll see about that. But I feel like he's very, he feels just like on the edge all the time. He feels like he's very depressed, drinks way too much, and is very, is not in great health either. So I feel like in the way that like he doesn't eat right, he doesn't take care of himself. He's just kind of, I feel like he's fading in a way. It's kind of weird. Okay, so that's them. So Cohen, I want to tell you about. I feel that the whole thing with him getting out of jail was to just get him to sign this thing talking about the book. That was it. And I felt like it was Trump saying like, I can't have another book coming out before the election. I can't do it. I can't have that happening because, especially from him, and I feel like it's because he has proof, like he has stuff he's going to put in the book, like papers and signatures and pictures and things like that, that Trump knows he has. And so that's what I feel like this was all about. And so it's like, okay, you want to get out of prison? We'll give you that, but you have to sign this. And he was like, no, because when he's in jail, he can write a book. He can publish a book when he's in jail. He can do that. So that's what this was all about. And they know that. They know that he can do that. So this was all a kind of a dangling a carrot to get him to sign this agreement, to get him to not get a book out before the election. Now, I don't know if the book will come out before the election, actually, but I do feel like it will kind of be like the Mary Trump thing, where it will be kind of parts of it leaked to the press, before the election. So that I feel like is happening. There are leaks coming out of the White House that I think are going to be significant. We saw the leaked roof in the White House. Do you remember that? There is a betrayal coming. There's I want to say a younger male, but I also feel a female. So, and if the younger male is not younger, it just feels like he has a more, he has a younger energy. Let's just put it that way. But I feel a male and a female both coming out. And I do feel like somebody's leaving. I'd said that before. I think it could be, unfortunately, I think it could be Fauci. I'm not for sure for that, but there is somebody leaving. I feel like they've got one foot out the door. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. I am hoping and praying they don't get rid of Fauci, because it could go two ways with him, right? Because I just felt like, well, he might have more freedom that way, but we'll see, But hopefully they're going to keep him to bring some officialness to what he says. Because I feel like if he just is on his own, not in the administration, going on TV, they'll say, oh, he's crazy, he's nuts, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I feel like they have to kind of take what he's saying with, some seriousness, because he's in the administration right now. So let's hope that they keep him, but I do feel like it could be him. So I'm sorry to say, but it could be someone else. So I'm not 100% on that one for whatever reason, but I don't know. I just, you know how it is. I just had that feeling. Okay. So the pep talk. So let me just tell you guys this. When there are things that are, we see things in very, even if we are spiritual and we have a lot of gray that we see, we can see nuance. A lot of times things are black and white, things seem like there are bad situations and good situations. And so what I like to tell you is that one of the spiritual lessons is that not everything always is what it seems. Not everything that good is completely good. Not everything that is bad is completely bad. And Spirit is so good at taking negative or difficult or what seemingly bad situations and turning them into something that moves to the positive. We talked about how there's this constant balancing taking place. And I want to share with you a story that's in my Eckhart Tolle book. I talked about it before, but I think it's perfect for right now. It's called Maybe. And it's a story about, I'll just tell the story. So there's a guy, and he's extremely, extremely poor. All his friends and family come over and say, you're so poor, we're so sorry, what bad luck you're having, it's so sad. And he says, maybe. And then a little bit later, he wins a bunch of money, and he buys a brand new car. And everybody comes to him and says, what? Oh, amazing, your luck has changed. Aren't you happy? Isn't it wonderful? Isn't this all so good? It's such good luck, don't you think? And he says, maybe. And then in that beautiful car, he gets in a horrible car accident, and he ends up in the hospital, and his limbs are broken, and he's has to be in the hospital for a while. And all of his friends and family come and they say, oh, how horrible your luck is. You lost your new car, and here you sit in this place and you're all broken bones. And they say how awful your luck is. And he says, maybe. And then while he's in the hospital, a giant Mack truck runs through crashes into his living room, and it demolishes his home. And had he been there, he would have been killed instantly. No doubt about it. And again, they come to him and say, aren't you lucky? Isn't it a blessing that you're in the hospital? Isn't it amazing? And the moral to this story, it's kind of, it's just one of those little stories that, you hear from spiritual teachers. But the moral to this story is being able to kind of accept things as they are, as neither good nor bad, just as this is what's happening right now. It's what's happening because we ultimately don't know what is going to happen because of this thing. We don't know. I had talked about this coronavirus being, it's making us look at so many things. It's horrible, right? People are sick. People are dying. People are going to have long-term effects because of this. And yet, because of it, we're having to look at our healthcare system. We're having to look at our prison system. We're all kind of closed down and closed in. So everyone's more aware of what's happening with the government and with Black Lives Matter, with the George Floyd murder and those kinds of things. And also with the camps, these camps on the border. Today, it was so interesting because I was watching, I think I was watching like AM Joy or something, and this one woman was talking about the coronavirus going through the camps, and she said it's like a fire going through the camps. And I remembered that vision a year ago that we've already been talking about, and I was saying that I saw it as like a heat. I kept thinking it was got to be something with the sun or the heat, but it was interesting how she talked about it that way, because I saw the firefighters coming in, which for me are rescuers, so it was very reminiscent of that. And I am hoping and praying that what I saw in my vision with them coming in and kind of rescuing these people, kind of opening things up, will happen, and it will happen because of COVID. So you've got this horrible thing that is, no doubt, it's a horrible thing, but we also don't know the good that it could lead to. Notwithstanding, not saying that it isn't horrible and it's going to leave those horrible things, but there's also this good stuff that may come of it. The same with, the Trump presidency, the horrors he has, blecked onto our country. And yet we're not going to be the same country. And it's going to be in a good way, because we see all the holes. We see all the racists. We see all the corruption. It is bright lights on everything, right? So to me, it's kind of the opportunity for us to kind of step back a little bit and know that what is seemingly bad, we would characterize it as bad, may lead to a lot of good. And things that we may think are good, maybe they won't be so good, so try to kind of back up from a distance and think in a more spiritual way, a more observing way, that instead of saying like, this is horrible, this is happening, this is awful, that this is just the situation right now. We have a challenge. For sure we have a challenge right now. But the universe has a really interesting way of balancing things out. We see it over and over and over again. You've probably seen it in your own life. I know I have seen it in my life. So if you have a hard time believing that at this time because you're so wrecked from everything that's going on, we're all exhausted, we're all sick of this, we're all tired, at least look at your own life and see where that may be true, and if that resonates with you. Because for me, I feel like there is going to be a great evening out of what's happening. And it's also, kind of put front and center our own failings as a country, the things that, that we've allowed people to be in charge that don't seem to care about our citizens. That's a problem. So anyway, that's what I see. I'm going to, leave that alone for now. I wanted to do something kind of strange. And, this whole thing is strange, right? Everything's strange. It's all strange. But because I did have that visit from Trump Sr., I wanted to see if I could talk with him. And I don't see people as, I'm already getting dizzy, you guys. So I think he wants to talk. And I've had that feeling this week. And I am going to kind of just tell you what I'm seeing and feeling from him. I'm going to let my guides kind of stay between him and I, only because I don't believe in evil people, but I do believe that people have, can commit evil acts, that they have a lower vibration, things like that. And so I don't want to be affected by that piece of it, but I do feel like I want to hear what he has to say, particularly before this book comes out. I'm really interested, and I'm interested about what he can tell us about the kind of the bigger kind of spiritual story about the family, and maybe about him and Trump. And I know in my last conversation with him a long time ago, he had talked about him, his dad, and Trump having gone through many lifetimes together as that, as like father, as son and father and grandfather. So I'm just going to kind of let this flow and see what happens. It may go absolutely nowhere, and if I feel uncomfortable or anything, I'll just call it off. And then you won't ever see this. But if you see this, that means it went okay. So let's see. I'm going to kind of just get quiet for a minute. I'm going to ask my guys to please come in and be here for this reading. It's interesting because I feel him as like a younger energy. He doesn't feel like an older man to me. It feels like a younger energy, so I just feel that's the way he's choosing to come in. And I feel like I almost feel like he's taking out like a piece of paper. Like, I've prepared this statement. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm prepared. I've come prepared. And I feel like he's nervous. I feel like and there's a heaviness to him. He feels very sad. It makes me almost want to cry. He feels very ashamed. And if I didn't tell you before, you guys, shame is one of those baseline kind of vibrations. It's very, very heavy and slow. He once again shows me the father, son, the grandfather, father, and son. And he's saying that he came in with deficiencies, like on purpose. There were certain things that were wrong with the way he, to me it feels like emotional and like some like mental kind of things. And that this was, it was like a way for him to learn about things like this. So he knew he would have these deficiencies. He also knew that he was to be that it was going to be a life where he he was going to have some money and some power. He's saying that this is to balance out another life they had had together that was the opposite. They had no money and no power. So this was a life to kind of balance that out. So he knew, he's saying that they knew going into this, it was going to be a challenge, a big challenge. But they wanted to understand kind of the flip side of what happens to people when they have like power and money. What happens to their soul? What happens to their the way they think? What happens to their relationships? But he's saying these deficiencies that he had, it was things kind of went in a it's like they snowballed. He's just saying like that it kind of got it was got away from him is how he's explaining it. That's how I'm interpreting it. Like it got away from him. For some reason, so he's saying when he first passed away, guys, oh my gosh, okay. Sorry. Whew. When he first passed away, I didn't know this would be so hard. I'm so sorry, you guys. He's showing his guides kind of surrounding him in like kind of a, it's almost like a wreath of like love and compassion. And he said he was left alone to, oh gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry. I feel like a dope, but that he was kind of left alone to grieve the life that he wasted. So he was left there for a long time. It feels like it almost feels like an eternity, but it's like it felt like an eternity because Lucy can. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but Lucy can sense like when I bring people in, she gets kind of agitated and kind of nervous. So that's what's happening right now. And I think this is a kind of a strong like spirit. So, oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. It seems so weird, but it was so emotional. So it seems like he was left in this circle to kind of grieve for a very long time. To me, it feels like for us, it would probably be years. For him, it probably seemed like an eternity because it feels like I was there for such a long time. Come here, Lucy. Let me hold you. Come here. Don't be scared. Come here. So, let me hold Lucy Goosey. Sorry. Don't want to freak my dog out. Okay. Okay, I've got to get a little quiet just for a second. You know what? This is actually, in ones that I've done, this is actually kind of an easier one because I feel like his energy is so kind of low and slow. It feels kind of like us. It feels more like, reading people because our vibration is just slower on the earth plane. It just is. And a lot of times when I talk to guides in my readings and things, I'll talk really fast because it feels like they're going so fast. And I know they're slowing down for me. So, okay. So, okay. So let me just try to get back in this. So since that time, he's saying it's almost like in some kind of like, I've seen this before. It almost seems like a recovery or like like you're recovering from your life. You're trying to like piece things together to go through it. And he's still kind of in that phase. He hasn't really left that phase. He's actually like feeling the hurt and pain that he caused others. He is actually experiencing he's actually, he's putting it this way. I'm just going to say it. He's actually like experiencing the effects of his actions on others, and it's almost like he's feeling them. He's showing it like it would be like a lifetime of a lifetime of consequence boil, in a second. And so he's feeling all of these people that he hurt and affected, and what happened, and how, and he's saying it's excruciating, is what it is. He's saying like it feels like a death over and over again. It's so painful. And yet it's done with such compassion and love. They're helping him through this period because it is so awful. He's trying to get to the point where he can start to try to reach, he says, his son. He's not there yet. He's like, I can't even try to help what's happening or stop what's happening or fix what's happening. I'm not even close to being there. I'm in this this it feels like a hell of a and maybe this is what they mean by hell, but it feels like, but it's also, it's so strange because it's almost like it would be like if you had a really, really high fever and someone was there taking care of you, but you still had to go through the fever. They couldn't help you with the fever, but they're there because they want to be there for you. That's what it's like. It is a process you have to go through when you've done things that are cruel or unkind, and it's a learning process, but it's a very painful process, spiritually heavy, and it's strange because it doesn't feel like this is a punishment. It just feels so unbelievably difficult and hard, and it's like your heart breaks over and over and over again. It's so hard to explain what I'm actually kind of trying to perceive, and I feel like I don't even have the full perception of what this is, but we don't want it. Whatever this is, we don't want it. He's talking about the fact that there will be a lot of spirit energy pushing for justice, for a like an earthly punishment, because it starts the process for so many that will be facing what he has been facing in his own death. But he's just saying there's going to be a lot of push and a lot of spirit energy moving people into a type of justice. And he's saying, like, it's actually for their own spiritual good. If there can be some kind of willingness to accept responsibility, take responsibility, some kind of willingness to accept consequences of your actions here, it's almost like it goes further in spiritual miles, like, because we don't have all the information here. When we're gone, we're looking at it from a completely different perspective. We have the perspective of other lifetimes and things. Here, it's so much more meaningful because we don't. We're just taking responsibility for this lifetime, things done in this life, in this lifetime. And he's just saying it goes so much further. And so there is going to be a big push for a lot of these people who have done horrible things to pay for this in this lifetime. It is for their own good, their own spiritual good. He's saying, I don't know why he's saying this, but he's saying, like, the Epstein thing is going to come back around. It's not the end of that. The bounties, the things with the bounties are going to come back around. It's like these things are not done. They're not complete. They're going to come back around. And it must be her, maybe that's part of that spirit energy pushing for these people to be kind of held accountable. I'm going to release this now because it's feeling very, I don't want to get depressed. It almost feels like that. It feels like it's like the heaviness of this, the weight of this person feels, it just feels heavy. I can't really explain. It's very hard to explain. And I'm sure when we do classes, we'll probably talk about this stuff, but it feels almost like it could make me depressed for days. So I'm going to kind of release him. I'm going to thank him for coming in. And I'm going to kind of end this with and the reason that I did that, brought him in, was because I felt like he wanted to talk, first of all, but I also felt like there's something in A Course in Miracles that I was thinking about when I thought about bringing him in, because I went back and forth about it. And then as I thought, if I feel like I should, I will during the recording. And I did. So I did. But in A Course in Miracles, it talks about a miracle being a change in perception. The miracle isn't like an actual miracle taking place, something changing physically, somebody becoming well all of a sudden, or it's a shift in perception. That's the miracle. And if you can have a shift in perception, a shift in the way you look at something, that's the miracle. And so I thought by possibly by bringing him in and getting a different look from a different place. Let's see if she's calmed down now that he's gone, hopefully. Yeah, she is. Okay, so that by having that shift in perception, we can see these things a little bit differently, and maybe it will give us the ability to not be so worried about it, agitated about it, knowing that there's something bigger at play here. I mean, clearly there is something going on, and we have talked endlessly about this shift that's coming, So, and it is a shift in consciousness, a shift in where we're going to be heading, and there will be people left behind, like in the Left Behind movies, but it will be more so just just like how there's people that won't wear masks right now. It's the same people. It's going to be those people that are just like, I'm not accepting this. I'm not going to accept this, or I'm not going to do what you say. And then they'll come along, they'll come along once things are more nationally accepted, and the way that things are looked at in the country kind of changes. And I do feel like Fox News is going to go through kind of something like they're going to get sued, or something's going to happen with them, and they're going to kind of shift a little bit. So I think as these things take place, more and more people will come along, and there will be people that just won't, and that's okay. They'll stay in Earth 2 and we'll be in Earth 1, and that's the way it's going to be. And we'll just kind of move past them, because even now it's a small fraction of people, right? And we're going to move past them. So, okay. The last thing I will tell you is if you would like to take classes, I still feel dizzy, you guys. So weird when I do this stuff. It's so strange. And I'll tell you the effect I have later on, because I feel like this may stick with me, not in a scary way. I don't want to make it sound like it's like a spirit is attached to me. It's not like that. It's just you feel the feelings, and so it can kind of. It's just like feeling your own feelings. It can take you a little while to get kind of back to normal. But anyway, please check out Cassie's blog. She has put in a new entry. It's kind of all about how filmmakers can be manipulative, how they, like the Tiger King and stuff, how they can kind of create a villain and those kind of things. So it's like how they can control the narrative. So I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it's good. So, and that you can download an app called Medium, and you can just, it's a whole bunch of blogs, and you can just look for her. It's under Cassie Carey, or you can hit there'll be a link below in the information section, and just hit that and go to her latest entry. And what else? Send me a thing that says classes in the description, says classes, and to intuitiview@gmail.com. If you have questions for the channel, you can put them in the comments or send me an email. I read both, so go ahead and do that if you want to. If you have a question you want me to answer, or something I need to cover, let me know. So send me a description that says classes, send it to me at intuitiview@gmail.com. I'll send you an email back that's kind of a blanket email, and then you'll get something at the end of the month. I'm going to have I'll have my website done at the end of the month, so hopefully we'll be getting this show on the road, so you can at least see what the classes are going to be, what it's going to be like, what it's going to cost, and you can make plans so that in September you can decide if you want to do it. It'll give you plenty of time to figure out what you want to do. Okay? All right. So I hope everyone is doing well. Please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. If you're in these crazy states that are being crazy, wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance, just do what you're supposed to do. Okay? All right. Okay. Everybody take care. All right. Bye.